Yeah. Well, I'm just here, another day at Young and Dundas. It's popping. I'm here with my man SiLSa, doing the damn thing, We just talking a bit about what's the whole state of the Toronto urban scene, what's going on, and I was there for the G20. I mean, I wasn't the one wanted, but I took some footage, and I'm just using that just for an opportunity just to get T-Dizzle Productions, which is the parent company of T-Dot Underground, to start doing videos and to start getting artists to come closer and just contribute to bigger projects. Like the actual black bloc tactics that the people were moving, like as they were going, I was coming afterwards, so I saw the actual scope of the damage that they did. It wasn't even that much damage. They didn't even try to take over the Metro Convention Center, which was a real big issue. So at the end of the day, it wasn't even that hardcore, but it was still pretty destructive. I seen a couple cop cars burn. I was wearing all black, so they thought I was part of it. I was like, no, I was just videotaping, so they understood, like they didn't put a beating on me or anything like that. So, in my end, I don't know, I actually found it fun. I was never actually involved in a actual political protest such as big as the G20, so it's part of history, something I can tell my kids.
This is what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like.
There's people calling my office saying, what's going on? They were scared.
Sure, but I really felt bad that so much personal property in the businesses of independent people were subjected to that damage, and that the federal government has not offered yet any compensation.
Okay, Joe Pantalone, and then we'll come back to Rocco.
I think it was a nightmare, actually.
I think that the police did as good a job as they could under very difficult circumstances.
But the police made some mistakes too, and they should be held accountable so they can learn from their mistakes.
Okay, Rob,
you either support the police or you don't support the police here. This is black or white.
We do not know everything that has happened, okay? That's a fact.
I'm excited about the G20. It's great. I don't think any of us wanted it here in Toronto. We knew it was going to be a disaster. I'm excited about the G20. It's great to bring the leaders from around the world to Toronto, show off our great city. I don't think any of us wanted it here in Toronto. We knew it was going to be a disaster, but I have to compliment the mayor. Mayor Miller, I think this was great.
Going to be a win-win.
The tape from last time.
G20, it's great. We knew it was going to be a disaster.
You were an enthusiast.
I was just going to try to answer the question.
Word up, we're here with Bryan Law, Director of United We Fall. He's got an update for Toronto. The people are watching G20. What's the word, Bryan Law? What have you, what's gone on?
Well, a couple weeks ago, I went in for an interview with some of the Toronto police officers who are investigating my case, 52 district, just down the road from here. And I was given three options, basically. It was about an hour and a half long interview with the detective and another officer who was present. I was given about three options. The first option was to just give up the complaint altogether. And I should make a point that the Office of the Independent Police Review Director decided that it would be a good idea for the Toronto Police to investigate themselves. So it was a Toronto Police Service that was investigating themselves for my case of being put in handcuffs on May 2nd. I was told either I could give up right then and there, drop the case, or I could formally withdraw, which was option 2, which means I formally give up my complaint. However, it goes on the officer's record that he had a complaint launched against him. And I didn't like either of those options because both of those options entailed me giving up after a couple months of, filing complaints and everything, and nothing really happened out of it. So I took option C, which was that she's going to write me an 8 to 10 page report, which will take about another month and a half to finish, so I can figure out exactly what they claim I did. And basically the entire interview boiled down to hinged on one factor. They claimed that I was trespassing on private property and that they had a right to detain me and investigate me and identify me and search my bags because I had broken the Trespass to Property Act, Section 2, where I failed to leave the premises. I wasn't on private property. In fact, I was arrested. On my arrest report, it says 20 King Street West, and if you go to 20 King Street West, you'll end up at the RBC Bank and the Scotia Bank, which is on the northeast corner of King and Bay. I was never asked to leave that property. In fact, I was never asked to leave the property of the CIBC Bank either. I was told I wasn't allowed filming their private property without a permit. I was on public property while I was filming their private property, and even the police confirmed that there is no law that mandates their ability to tell you you can't film private property. That's a private corporate statute, and it only applies if you're inside of their building. If you're on a public street, you do not need to get a permit to film a building. Otherwise, anybody getting a wide shot of the city would need to get permission from about 15 or 20 skyscrapers to see if they could get a shot of it. It's absolutely ridiculous. So the entire interview hinged on the fact that they claim I was trespassing, and I claim that I wasn't trespassing. And even if I had been trespassing, under the Trespass to Property Act, it states that you have to be asked to leave the premises first, or there has to be a sign up that says that you're on private property, trespassers will be prosecuted. What I got the impression that happened was the officers overstepped their bounds and tried to backstep a little bit to figure out what they could do to legitimize their unlawful detention, arrest, search and seizure, assumption of guilt. And when I was in there during the interview, they kept making cases that, in 1995, a person with a camera on the streets could be looked at as just a tourist. But after 9/11 and after the Toronto 18, we can no longer look at an independent journalist as just a tourist or a journalist. You could potentially be doing preoperative surveillance to come and attack that building. Let's just throw out the window the entire Google Earth or Google Street View aspect of the world now, where you can find out anything you want of any building in any major city without ever leaving the comfort of your home. And let's also forget the fact that I'm carrying a broadcast-size HD camera on my shoulder with a 6-foot tripod on my back and an equipment bag. They claimed that would have been my cover as a preoperative surveillance, anarchist coming down there to destroy their building. And after all is said and done, and they're trying to make a case that I'm doing preoperative surveillance on their building and that these are highly defended areas during the G20. Where were the police in the financial district during the G20? They weren't anywhere to be found. So to make a claim that these are very high-profile targets and then all of a sudden to have no police officers protecting them when you have 90 people running amok, smashing windows, and the peace officers that are there aren't stopping them from doing what they're doing, it completely takes all the water out of their argument. I mean, you can't have your cake and eat it too. If you're claiming that the building is a target for terrorism and you're going to put me in handcuffs for doing that, well, then protect the buildings from being wrecked and protect police cars from being lit on fire right outside, 20 feet away from where I was filming on that day. And if they had sat around and watched the actual video, they would have seen that Dan made the point in the video that the black bloc would be coming down and they would be targeting financial districts and financial buildings. So if they had sat down to watch the rest of it, and I made that point to them in the interview as well, that if these were really targets, they should have taken our advice in the video that they will be likely attacked by black bloc. And financial institutions and corporate institutions are just a natural common target for anarchist groups, because that's exactly what they're looking at destroying, is corporate property. So basically the entire interview boiled down to them saying I was trespassing. I say I wasn't trespassing. So I left them with the raw footage that they could watch and that they could put into their report. So it'll be interesting to see what their final report says after over probably almost close to 4 months after all of this happened, this entire bureaucratic mumbo-jumbo. And finally, I'm going to see what's going to happen when I get the arrest or the final report from the detective, and I'll see where I'll go from there, because if I'm not satisfied with it, I'm not going to let it go. I'd be glad to meet them in court and be charged with trespassing and failing to leave the premises. I think that they know that they would lose that court case because I wasn't doing that. So
you should be out there full-fledged doing your thing and represent your city always. It's your boy Twist, the hustle to the underground, my boy SiLSa, you know what I mean? Holding it down.
Dan Dix, you got any words on the man that was accused of being a black bloc ringleader, Charlie Veach? Do you have any updates on what his situation is?
Yeah, he is an extremely dangerous terrorist. I want to make that very clear. You watch any of his videos, he is obviously psychotic. He is a very dangerous individual.
This is what a police state looks like.
There are many Al-Qaeda terrorists here dressing in Toronto police uniforms. Please be very careful. These people may assault you. They may put metal brackets on your arms. They may even ask for your identification. Be very careful. Trust no one.
If you are a police officer and you ever see a man with a megaphone or a video camera for that matter, please go up, look into them. They are most likely a terrorist. In fact, I probably shouldn't be talking to you right now because I have a big beard and you have a camera and we're right out front of the Toronto Police Headquarters, so I might get in trouble. So on that note, peace out.
Thank you for your insulting words, gentlemen. Oh, you guys are allowed to walk through there.
Oh, they must be
Ah. Are you guys paid by the state to cause trouble? Are you guys agents provocateurs?
For any police officer out of there who wants to know how to stop a man with a megaphone, the easiest way is to move them about 3 or 4 feet off of private property. That'll stop them from megaphoning, because as everybody knows, noise doesn't carry after you move somebody off of private property. It's only private property that actually carries noise in today's global economy. So if you're looking at stopping a bullhorner, move them out closer to the streets, away from the buildings, where the noise won't carry out in the open air as easily as it will carry against a brick wall.
Ladies and gentlemen, Toronto is in police state lockdown. You are free to do as you are told. You are free to have your bag searched arbitrarily. You are free to hand in your identification. Please look up to your nearest CCTV camera so your face may be reported. You're all guilty until proven innocent. Anyone disobeying or not showing their ID quickly enough will be detained by the police for a total of 20 hours, much like I was on Thursday.
Show me your ID, sir. I said, well, can you show me your ID? Because if he's going to ask for my ID, but then he didn't take that very kindly. I actually thought it was going to be maybe like a 1 hour ordeal. They'd go, well, this is not in the public interest to follow this through. All he did as a British national was not show his ID quickly enough. And but it didn't figure out like that. I spent 5 hours sat on a bench in the Union Street Station security office under CCTV surveillance. They sent an immigration detective down from the Canadian immigration because they said that I was in the country illegally, that they had no record of my entry into Canada. And then they said, right, okay, tell us when you arrived. I said, yesterday at 3 p.m. They're like, what airport? I said, well, the Toronto airport. They're like, was it City Airport or Pearson Airport? And I subsequently learned there is no City Airport, it's like Island Airport. So I was like, dude, I don't know. I flew in on an international flight to Toronto Airport. I got a taxi to my friend's house. And he's like, oh, this is very suspicious. You have no record of your entry and you don't even know what airport you flew into. They say you've got convictions. I said, no, I've been arrested a couple of times in the UK for doing the megaphoning act in public. And he's like, oh, very interesting. Did you tell immigration that you'd been arrested? I was like, well, they didn't ask me. And he goes, look, did you tell immigration you'd been arrested? I said, look, no. And he goes, ah, that's very suspicious. So then I got thrown in the back of a van, again with the handcuffs still behind my back, and driven in this kind of metal box in the back of a van for about 15 minutes to the Toronto Film Studios. But I didn't know it was the Toronto Film Studios until I left. And in there, first thing they did, they took me into a big processing cage. They had all these court service people and Toronto police. And as I was coming in, you know, handcuffed, walking in, they're like, oh, who's the big man now? Who's the big protester? Who's fighting the man now that you're in a cage? They strip searched me again. A sergeant interviewed me under CCTV again. Then I got taken into this massive open room about the size of 2 football pitches, like black everywhere. And they'd set up like strip lighting, fluorescent lighting, and above each cage, they had 2 CCTV cameras and a little toilet in the corner with cameras pointing at that as well. And it was like something out of the X-Files. It was like something out of a horror movie, a place where, like an Area 51 where they'd house aliens or something. And then there was the anti-terror detectives. This is about 10 hours into my incarceration. They came along and said, oh yeah, we want to know, we know you're here illegally, we know you're a violent anarchist, we want names. Make this easy for yourself, Mr. Veach. Give us names, tell us where you're staying, give us your associates, what are they planning to do, tell us of all the violent acts that you're going to be involved with or that you know people are going to be involved with. We can make this very easy for you. So then I got taken back to the cage and had to wait there for another 2 hours. And then another team of detectives came along and said, okay, you're probably going to get released in about an hour. And then almost like they were joking, they goes, oh no, but sorry, you're a British national, you might fly away, you're a flight risk. So what we'll do, we'll keep you in jail for another 8 hours and you can go see I went to the old City Hall courthouse at 10 a.m. the next day. I told them I was staying with, you know who I'm staying with right now. I told them that person's name. And they had his Facebook photographs. The Crown prosecution had his Facebook photographs in court of the guy whose house I'm staying at. So then after the judge said I was okay to be released, they put me in jail again for another 3 hours. And I was only released at midday the following day. So for not showing my identification quickly enough, 21 hours in jail in a kind of makeshift Guantanamo Bay kind of warehouse.
They had 4 detectives to interview me every 2 hours, calling me a violent anarchist, which is quite ironic because my group from England is called the Love Police, and we are here to raise love and lower fear.
Hi, this is Charlie Veach of the Love Police, and this is TorontoTruthSeekers.com.